Hello, my name is Matthew, and just recently my little book channel had reached 2,000 subscribers, which is incredible, and I'm very grateful and thank you for anyone that watches these videos and enjoys listening to me talk about books. And last week I made a Q&A video. I put out a call if anybody had questions that they would like me to answer, and I got a great response. It's a great collection of questions, and I printed them out, and I pulled down some props, books, and I'll just go through the questions and we'll begin. So Augustinina Farias asks, hi, congratulations. I've discovered your channel a few weeks ago and I loved it. Here are my questions. Have you read books written by Latin American authors? And I'm not sure. I've read a handful. My first reaction is to ask for recommendations because I've only read so few things that I would really appreciate some direction. But my first thought is I'm not sure if Latin America only means Central and South America, or whether Spain is included. If Spain is included, then one of my absolute favorite books is Don Quixote. I was reading a little bit of it a few months ago, and actually, just by coincidence, I was reading some this morning. But I love Don Quixote. And then two other Spanish books that I really enjoy, Celestina by Fernando de Rojas, and two Spanish picaresque novels, Lazarillo del Tormes and The Swindler. It has this great cover. But I'm not sure if they're considered Latin American literature, but the few that I have read, I'll show you. Roberto Bolaño, I've enjoyed pretty much everything I've read by him. By Night in Chile, it's another great cover, and Distant Star. I read this years ago, but I remember really liking it. And then I've dipped my toe into Jorge Luis Borges. This is a very strange edition of Labyrinths, and I still don't have a firm opinion. My first impression is really just still curiosity. He's an author that I find very intriguing, but I can't say that I love him or like him yet. It's just a very unusual. The stories that I've read so far have been very unusual. And then one of the books that is on the top of my list for reading next year is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Gabriel Garcia Marquez, I think that's correct. And I got this earlier this year, and it's a book that I will make a priority to read at the beginning part of next year. But please, recommendations would be much appreciated for Latin American literature, books, authors, all of that. Question number 2. If you could have a talk with a female and male book character, which ones would you choose and why? Greetings from Argentina. And I've just been reading these Truman Capote short stories, and this world that one of the characters, Buddy, and his old friend Miss Sook inhabit, this really sweet, tender world where they get to go off on adventures and enjoy each other's company. And I would love to just spend time with those two and bake those fruitcakes and have nips of whiskey and get in trouble. Question number 2. This is from Jason Liedl. Congratulations. Thank you. The 2K is well deserved. Thank you. What's the longest book you have ever read, not counting In Search of Lost Time? And do you lean towards books of a particular size? And I pulled some books out that are, two of them are recent reads, I mean, within the year or so. So I read Duck's Newberry Port. This is about 1,000 pages, I believe, or maybe shy of 1,000 pages. I really enjoyed it. Earlier this year, I read The Life of Samuel Johnson by James Boswell, and this is about 1,000 pages as well. I loved it. And then this is probably one of the just largest sized books. It's Les Miserables translated by Julie Rose, of course, written by Victor Hugo, and for the most part, all of these books, the great thing about a long book that you love is that it feels shorter than you think. When I think back on these books, the only consideration about the length is the amount of immersion I feel while reading them, and also my recollections. And how do you lean towards a particular size? Of course it's a consideration because it's a time investment. Usually normally for a very long book, I want to already have some sort of acquaintance with the author, some connection already. The Duck's Newberry Port would be an exception. I don't often look for a 1,000-page book by an author that I've never read before, don't know anything about. But that was a happy choice. But 300 to 400 pages for a novel, I feel a lot can be told in that time. Cozy reading with Quaker cats. Hello. Congratulations. So happy for you and your channel. I always enjoy your videos. Thank you. And you as well. And you as well. Do you enjoy the winter time? And do your cats sleep with you? I don't really like the winter. I don't like the cold. I don't like the short daytime, the shorter amount of light in the day. I really don't like snow. I feel like it's pretty momentarily, but it often means a lot of work and treacherous road conditions. It turns black and gray very quickly, and the remnants, the long-term remnants of snow with all the sludge and muck and mud, is really not appealing to me. I don't have much fat on my body, so I get cold very, very easily. So I prefer summer. I would take summer over winter. I'll take mild weather over both. And it's funny, Andy, my little boy, is very affectionate. He likes to have his time where he'll come over and want to push my book out of the way and sit with me and enjoy my company. And it's always for a few minutes, and then he'll want to hop off and go back to doing his own thing. Daphne, my little girl, prefers, kind of always prefers to have her own time, but she loves sleeping with me. If anytime I get into bed, she hops up right away and wants to push herself as close to my body as she possibly can. She tries to wedge in, and at nighttime, I constantly wake up, and I'll just feel her little body. And at this point, I just know it's always Daphne. Andy likes to sleep by himself. Andrea, You really deserve it, and I'm so happy to see your channel grow. Thank you. Um, Thank you, Andrea. Tell us about a few of your favorite literary characters and what it is you like about them. Um, for years, I, I've always had an affinity for Bouvard and Picochet, the two characters from Flaubert's novel, and it's just these two idiots. I love when two characters are agreeing with each other and making really bad decisions. Uh, I don't personally like them. I wouldn't want to meet them, but they're endlessly entertaining for me, and it's an acquired taste. Um, Very similar to characters like um, Vladimir and Estragon, or um, Don Quixote and his sidekick, things like that. Characters that I would um, kind of like to be around would be that whole cast of um, uh, characters from the Oscar Wilde plays. Any of those plays, those kind of fast talking, witty, incredibly clever, always has a turn of phrase. I would love to just sit in one of those drawing rooms. Um, they're all mouthpieces for Oscar Wilde, but um, when you are Oscar Wilde, it's kind of all I want out of his characters. Um, so, what else do I want to say? What other literary characters? Maybe that's what I'll say. The any of those characters from the Oscar Wilde plays, I really enjoy. Um, and this is Iva Danilov, Foucault's Pendulum in January. It will melt your brain from goodness. Thank you. Maybe. Penelope Go. Congratulations to you. I am tempted to read The Brothers Karamazov with you, and I wish I had checked before this. I have just finished The Magic Mountain. Indeed, magic. I just was so involved and loved it all. Because my new iPad did not immediately sync, I lost all my subscribed booktube channels, but am slowly resubscribing. No question, but glad to hear that you're reading a lot of good books, so that's great. And Harrison Recht. Hi Matthew, congratulations on your milestone. I appreciate the kindness and decency you bring to your channel. Well, thank you. You've mentioned several times your love for Dostoevsky. Since he is often compared and contrasted with Tolstoy, I want to ask what your experience has been reading Tolstoy. Any of his works or specific translations that you enjoy most? I love both authors, and I'm always interested to hear the experiences of others. Well, I love Tolstoy. Everything that I've read by him, the major novels, lots of short stories. I really enjoyed Resurrection. It's one of his later novels. War and Peace. I'm trying to think of translations. I always feel like he's a very clear, clean writer. So I've never had huge preferences in translation. I hardly really notice. I remember reading, is it Rosamund Bartlett's translation of Anna Karenina. They're masterpieces. I mean, I absolutely love them. It's been years, it could be close to a decade since I've picked up Anna Karenina or War and Peace, and that might account for why I don't talk about Tolstoy's work as much on my channel. But actually, I would love to reread both of them. So Thank you for the reminder. And as far as translations, my own experience is that it hasn't made a big difference, the different translations that I've read. To the Lit House. Congratulations on 2K. My question is there a book you think you won't ever read? Like a big tome by an author you don't like, or something like that? I'm not sure about an author that I don't like, but I did pull out some books that there's a high probability that I won't read. And oh my gosh. So I just kind of looked through my bookshelves, and here are books that I've dipped into, read portions, and finally kind of made the decision that I probably will not be reading these things cover to cover. And they're all, this little bunch is philosophy, but Being in Time by Heidegger, an essay concerning human understanding by John Locke, Critique of Judgment by Kant. I've spent time with all of them, had read portions, or other things that I've read have brought me to want to read specific passages, and I have yet to really find anything that really connected with me, or deep philosophical thoughts that have affected my everyday life at all, and none of it has been enjoyable. So I might go back and read portions, but these are books that I will never just read cover to cover, I don't believe. Another book similar to that is going to be the Cantos by Ezra Pound. Again, I enjoy opening it up to random pages and reading bits and pieces, but it says like music in it. At this point, I have I just don't believe it's worth my effort to sit down and read it cover to cover. Got characters in it, but I'm glad to have the book anyway. And the last one that I'll show, which it's the Arabian Nights, and I have what I think is a complete unabridged collection. It's by Penguin. It's volumes 1, 2, and 3 of the Arabian Nights. And now this is something that I have started reading and absolutely love. It's really readable and enjoyable, fun, fantastical, and just swirls of creativity and imagination, and a unique reading experience. All that being said, I'm not sure that I'll ever make it to the end. The short stories are incredibly readable, but for as much as I like them, I don't think about it very often. And when I started reading it, I each time would very quickly move on to just reading something else. So there's a chance I won't read the whole of the Arabian Nights. Okay, let's see. Okay. NW, congrats on 2K. Love the channel and the discussion. Thank you. My questions are, what are some factors that make you want a physical copy of a book over an ebook, or vice versa? My attitude towards that has been changing. I've found that even books that I have that I want to read, I have enjoyed the reading experience of the Kindle a lot more. It's really a really great way to read a book in bed at night, and it's portable, and there's a lot of advantages that I see in having a Kindle. So as far as physically having a book, it's personal preference. There are some books that I just want to have my own copies of. Sometimes, like some of the books that I've gotten in the past year or so, like Clarissa by Samuel Richardson, or The Tale of Genji, they're I'm just looking at my shelf here. I do often, if there's a book that I'm interested in and I worry that it might not be in print, so if it's available at the moment that I'm interested in, and I think, well, maybe a year from now it might not be as easy to acquire, I'll pick it up. Let me see. And what books have you read this year would you consider an essential addition to a personal library? For me, two of the best things that I've read this year that I now are just going to be permanent parts of my book collection as other things kind of move around and leave the house. These two will stay, and it's some collection of Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman and poetry by Horace. I have the Odes and Epistles. These are translated by David Ferry. I wouldn't want to live without them. I constantly have been going back to Leaves of Grass and Walt Whitman's poetry, and Horace is such an amazing experience. It's strange and hard to describe. They're almost like these daily thoughts. We get to have views of everyday life in ancient Rome, and it's hard to describe. They're just really. But both of these poets feel like real unique individuals that are speaking to me, speaking to the reader. So those two, for me, are important to have. Mariano Cassio. First and foremost, I would like to thank you. It's been a rough year for everyone, and feeling part of this channel is a caress to the soul. Heartfelt congratulations to you for reaching 2,000 subscribers. My question is the following. Who was the author or book that first got your interest in literature? And bonus question, what is your relationship to poetry? And one of the... I remember reading Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy, and to me that's one of those kind of old books by an old writer. And when you're not very well read, or still you don't have that experience of really falling into the world of a book. But before I've had those kind of moments, some book from the 1800s just sounded like it was going to be boring, and it was going to be a chore. And not only did I love the book, but I had these real emotional reactions. At first I thought the book was so funny, and we have poor Jude, whose life is miserable, and all of these terrible things keep piling on and piling on, and then it turns really tragic. And I just had a spectrum of emotions and real care and sympathy for this fictional character. And it what was one of those moments where I thought, like, wow, I can just go into a whole other world. And your question about poetry, I love poetry. I try to read poetry every day in the morning before I properly begin my day. I just mentioned Walt Whitman and Horace. Each one of those is one of them is usually at my bedside, but um, mostly my grouping of poets that I like, that I constantly go back to, would probably be the Romantics, so Coleridge and Wordsworth and that group. But I love poetry. And the last question by EB. Hi, congratulations on reaching 2,000 subscribers. I enjoy your channel. I thank you. I had a question about your relationship to poetry. Can you name 3 of your favorite poets and why you like them? So we kind of have a theme throughout this Q&A. So I mentioned the Romantics. I could probably name any 3. I've mentioned before how much I like Wordsworth. I love Coleridge for all of his fantastical imagery, and Keats for the beauty of the language, and Shelley for how strange he is. Also for William Blake is also a strange one. Lord Byron, the satire and sarcasm, that biting humor. It's still just like perfectly put together words and sentences and poetry. They're just so formally perfect. But Homer would probably be one of my favorite poets if we're counting that. The Iliad and the Odyssey are 2 of my favorite books. And I've kind of been talking about Horace and Walt Whitman, which are relatively new to me, but I really have been enjoying them as well. So, yeah, a bunch of poetry, a bunch of poets that I like. That's the end of our Q&A, and I'd like to end by also reiterating and just saying thank you for keeping me company and watching these videos. It's just as enjoyable for me to make, so I really appreciate it and feel very happy and grateful. So thank you for everyone watching, and thank you for everyone that asked questions. If you have any additional questions or thoughts or anything like that, feel free. Please leave a comment if you would like. Thank you for watching, and take care.